Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm your host Rafae Iqbal, and in today's episode we'll be deliberating on two very important topics. The first being elections. As we know, it's the election year all around the world, and we earlier saw elections in India, in Pakistan, in different parts of the world, in the United Kingdom, in France as well. And it's now time for the American elections, as it's a race for the White House. On one end, we see the Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump. On the other side, we see the Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris. If we go into the backdrop of this race for the top spot, the earlier face-off was to be taken place between the Democrat nominee Joe Biden, who is the current American president as well, and against the Republican nominee Donald Trump. But in the first presidential debate that they had, there was a lot of dissent and a lot of concerns being raised within the Democrat Party as regards to Joe Biden's age and his being the most suitable contender for the top spot. In that regards, Kamala Harris had garnered a major support within the Democrat Party, and of course in that regard she came out as the top contender for the top spot. And now the face-off is to take place between Donald Trump for the Republicans, and for the Democrats it's going to be Kamala Harris. With regards to that, there's a lot of it's a very dynamic elections that we're seeing, and there's a lot of developments that have unfolded in these elections as well, such as the foiled assassination attempt on the Republican candidate Donald Trump as well, while he was addressing a public gathering. And of course it gathered world condemnation from international leaders, from the international community, from the American community itself as well. Now the face-off between the Republican candidate Donald Trump. On the other side we have Kamala Harris, who is also the vice president for the Democrats at the moment. She is the vice president of America, and there's going to be a face-off. A presidential debate was also held between the two today. In regards to that, there's a lot of different viewpoints that we're seeing regarding that. Some are saying in favor of Donald Trump. There's others that are in favor of Kamala Harris. There's a debate going on whether who performed better in this debate. And we'll be discussing both the candidates for the Republicans, for the Democrats as well. And we'll be talking about the debate, the points that they raised in today's presidential debate, and which one has better cards to play in the upcoming US elections. Regarding our second topic, we'll be talking about the Finance Minister Mohammad Aurangzeb, how he stressed upon the need for reforms in the power sector, as we know that the Finance Minister has constantly been talking about how reforms are the need of the hour, and he has been talking about how reforms are needed to revitalize the economy, as the government has shown and expressed its determination and commitment to take out and implement these reforms as well. In regards to that, the Finance Minister stated that privatization is an essential point that should be given much importance to, and in that regard he said that the privatization of the government-owned discos and gencos, he said that it is not the job of the government to do business, and in regards to that he has been talking about how state-owned enterprises, they need to be privatized, and there needs to be a public and private partnership to better provide facilities to the masses, so these institutions, these organizations can perform better and resultantly give a better and more effective facilities to the masses. He also said that measures need to be taken to facilitate the private sector so they can contribute to the revitalization of the national economy, and he also shed light upon the reforms in K Electric, which will allow K Electric to provide better electricity to the people of Karachi city. We'll be discussing and deliberating on these two topics in today's discussion. In the studios we've been joined by geopolitical analyst Faisal, and on Skype we have been joined by Farrukh Pitafi, senior analyst. Along with that, we have been joined by our guest Dr. Awais, Saleem, associate professor, Lamar University of Texas, and Jehangir Khattak, who is a senior analyst. I'd like to begin our conversation from Mr. Jehangir Khattak. And before that, we have a package that we'd like to see regarding the US elections and the presidential debate that was held earlier. We'll take a look at that and come to Jehangir Khattak to start our conversation.
President Kamala Harris from Democratic Party and former President Donald Trump from Republican Party featured different strategies and responses. It started with an awkward handshake but quickly moved to important topics. Harris aimed to make a strong impression as she discussed key issues like Trump's efforts to change the outcome of the 2020 election, abortion rights, and racial equality. Trump, on the other hand, often shifted the focus to immigration and the economy, making claims about migrants that lacked evidence. He also distanced himself from the idea of a federal abortion ban and continued to deny his electoral defeat. After the debate, Harris's team called for a second debate, highlighting her strong performance. Harris spoke about the Israel-Palestine conflict, saying she and President Biden want a ceasefire. However, pro-Palestine groups criticized her for being insincere, claiming US support for Israel goes against calls for peace. Despite the heated topics, some commentators, including those from Fox News, praised Harris for being well prepared and effectively challenging Trump, suggesting she won the debate. Trump's campaign, however, claimed victory and accused Harris of having a poor record. As both candidates prepare for upcoming events, Harris will start her New Way Forward tour, while Trump continues his Agenda 47 policy tour. The debate showed a different vision for America's future, with Harris framing the election as a choice between progress and going backward. In her closing remarks, Harris stressed the importance of unity and having a leader who cares about the people rather than personal interest. She promised to protect basic rights and support an economy of opportunity. Meanwhile, Trump criticized her leadership and record. As the race heats up, both candidates are getting ready for important moments, including memorial events for September 11th.
Well, that was the breakdown of the presidential debate. And with regards to the American elections, we know that the presidential debate has a lot of weight in the elections, as we're seeing it shapes up public perception in the country. With regards to that, I'd like to start off our conversation from Mr. Jehangir Khattak, who is a senior analyst. I'd like to thank you for your time and being part of the conversation first, and then moving towards the American elections and the presidential debate that was held earlier. How do you comment on the performance by both the candidates in this presidential debate?
Thank you for having me. I think overall the debate was, of course, loaded with fireworks. We saw lots of personal attacks. We saw a lot of differences in policies. I wish there was no more conversation about policy because I think both the candidates depended on rhetoric. I think Trump was more strong on rhetoric and Kamala Harris was more strong on policy. At least she uh, explained and shared her economic vision, her agenda that she wants to implement if she is elected. Donald Trump, on the other hand, was basically going after the immigration policy of the Biden administration and also the overall international outlook, the foreign policy that President Biden has so far pursued. So the differences were very clear. I think it was a pretty strong conversation in which both sides tried to score points in terms of rhetoric rather than points in terms of program. Because generally, remember that American elections votes are not decided just by these debates. Yes, debates play a very important role. Why the debates play a very important role? Because you know that in this country, the two main parties, that's Democratic and the GOP or the Republican Party, so they do have their own voter base. They have registered voters who generally go on the party lines. But then there is a almost an equal number of independent votes as well, which are floating votes. And these debates are an excellent opportunity for every candidate to present himself or herself as the ideal one and to convince those undecided voters to go and vote for him or her. And that's what we saw. I think both sides tried to, I think, instill more fear that, for example, if Donald Trump comes, he will make this country like hell. And if Kamala Harris comes, the world will see a third world war. I mean, we saw this level of, strong rhetoric. But I think overall, the debate was okay. I think it was not really very heavy on substance. Even though they spoke and they addressed key issues. American elections generally are not decided by foreign subjects, these are domestic issues. And here we saw that the debate was focused mostly on economy, on immigration. The country is facing a migrant crisis. Hundreds of thousands of people have been coming through the Mexico US border because of President Biden's policy, which has been criticized by Trump. And few weeks back, the president has basically curtailed the number of people who are being allowed to come into the United States. But already there are too many. And because of that, I think there is some like it has created a very ugly debate about the immigrants and migrants. For example, last night, Trump mentioned that in some cities, there are reports that these migrants are eating away the pet dogs and cats of Americans and that they are increasing crime rates in different cities. So that was something which he was trying to promote and to convince people, even though there is no evidence for that. And David Moyer, who was the host of the program moderator, he pointed it out that there is no such evidence, but Trump insisted that he has seen on the TV. So I think overall, the quality of the debate, if I am looking at the quality, I think it was short on policy. Yes, we did see a lot of fireworks. Yes, we did see a lot of flashy statements, but we did not see like a way forward. For example, on Ukraine, Trump has been promising that he will resolve this crisis even before assuming the office. And when he was asked that, can you share the details? And he said, well, I will get on a call and bring Putin and Zelensky and we'll solve it. But he did not have like a specific formula. Similarly, on Israel-Hamas war in Gaza, I think Trump did not offer any possible roadmap that he has in mind. Same, I think, was the case of Kamala Harris, even though she just reiterated the US position that they do want to see a two-state solution. But how would they see a two-state solution when the United States itself is giving Israel a clean chit everywhere, whether it is on diplomatic front or anywhere else, and it is providing them with all those weapons that are creating this genocidal war into something like a huge carnage, which we are seeing every day. So you do see a lot of contradiction, I think, in terms of policy. And I think the one thing that probably Trump scored a very strong point at the end, and that was also because there was a like a coin toss as to who will give the last word, and Trump had won the coin toss before the debate, so he decided that he will go for the last word, and Kamala Harris decided that she would like to be seen on the right side of the TV screen. So that's what happened. So I think one strong point that Trump left the debate with was to tell the Americans that we heard a lot from Kamala Harris. She has very fancy programs and plans, but she has been in office for 3.5 years. Why she did not do anything? Why she could not influence the president? And why she could not implement part of the agenda that she is promising? I think that was a very strong point. And I think that is where, and also then you saw a lot of conversation about Afghanistan. And in terms of Afghanistan, Trump has been criticizing President Biden for a very bad strategy. We saw it in the during the debate as well when Trump was told by Kamala Harris that when she goes overseas, she hears from foreign leaders how they are laughing at him and how they are ridiculing him because he's not a leader, and then and also his former advisors have also been saying bad things about Trump. So this is what Kamala Harris said. In response, Trump had again a very strong point, and he said that those people who are talking against me were fired from the job because they were inefficient, they were incompetent, and that's why they are giving these statements. Whereas when you were leaving Afghanistan, which was a chaotic withdrawal, and after that, you did not do any investigation, despite the fact that 13 American soldiers lost their lives, besides so many Afghans during that bomb blast that happened outside Kabul airport. So you did not fire a single general. Why it did not happen? Because you guys are weak, and that's why Putin also attacked Ukraine. So I think overall, uh, as I said, it was like in some places not a shouting match exactly, but a sort of strong on rhetoric and very short on policy and vision. So any independent voter who would be making their decision, I think they'll be making their decision based on the economic agenda and the immigration policy. And on those two counts, so far, the latest public opinion polls that have just been released by Pew Research Center, they say that 55% of Americans believe that Trump is better when it comes to economic management. And also, more people support Trump on immigration. And if you see in the debate last night, Trump was pounding these two subjects. He was trying to establish that just like Biden, who Trump calls an incompetent leader, Kamala Harris is also. And there is no difference between Biden and Kamala Harris. So I think that's what we saw. And I think it will definitely have some impact on the voters. But at the end of the day, it will come down to economics. How much convincing and how much real the economic agenda that both the candidates are offering, I think that will play a very important role in the eventual outcome of this election.
Yeah, Khattak Saab, very quickly, I just wanted to ask about, your analysis was excellent. And when it comes to, of course, yesterday's this debate, of course, we have been waiting since a long time, and I'm pretty much sure the post-debate analysis which were airing on different news channels of America and the Western overall news channels, you must have noticed one thing, that they were having a tilt towards Harris, and of course they were highlighting the odd moments of Trump when it comes to, of course, supporting somebody's agenda. Of course, it seems as if the the hidden hands of the establishment, they are still working along, and they are utilizing their media lobbies to, of course, garner some support in favor of Kamala Harris. But when it comes to, of course, going against Trump, they are openly going against Trump. So can we say that this time around, when we are seeing that the world elections, they are having more influence from the social medium side rather than the other traditional medias, can we say that this time around, this tactic of utilizing the traditional media in the favor of establishment-backed candidates would not work, and on the election day, the results would be very different?
I mean, it's hard to predict because we still have almost 2 months to go for the November 5th elections, for the ballot day. But one thing that we should keep in mind is that basically voting will start next week, especially in the battleground state of Pennsylvania, where postal ballots will start from September 16th onward until the end of October. At least 12 states will have postal ballots. So certainly, I think to your point about the effort by the media to portray Trump as someone who is not very serious candidate, and Kamala Harris as being very serious and with a vision. So yes, you do see, I think that kind of flavor in the overall reporting. For example, just yesterday, when these reports start coming in that Trump has been hitting hard on Afghanistan, so the Wall Street Journal published a report, and it was about what? It was about the role Kamala Harris played when President Biden was making or finalizing his decision regarding the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. And in some cases, when you read that report, you will get the sense as if the reporter is trying to absolve Kamala Harris. But interestingly enough, A few hours later, after this report came out, the National Security Council spokesman, John Kirby, he came on the media and said that, well, Kamala Harris was part of every decision that President made, including the decisions about Afghanistan. So I think that there is an effort by the media, and it depends on which media you're talking about. But the media that favors Trump, they will always be highlighting strong points that he carries. And the media that supports the Democrats, Kamala Harris, and other candidates in the Democratic Party who are running for different offices. So they are also trying to portray that Trump is a threat. Trump is a threat to democracy. Trump is a threat to American future. Whereas Trump is telling everyone that Biden is incompetent, Kamala Harris is incompetent, they will destroy this country, and that they will start a third world war. So remember, these are two different rhetorics. And yes, in between, now there are questions being raised now. Like, for example, if you just go back and watch last night's debate, you will see that David Moyer and his other colleague, they were basically fact checking Trump more than Kamala Harris, which was nothing wrong with it. But certainly, many media watchers, many analysts, and some newspapers did point out that one thing that we saw a bit odd was that David and his colleague, they were, fact checking Trump right there, but not Kamala Harris, who also has a history of changing her positions, like especially on fracking. For example, this debate was in the great city of Philadelphia, which is part of the Pennsylvania, which is a battleground state. And remember, gas, natural gas, fracking is very important to Pennsylvania. The
Right.
Pennsylvanian voters support fracking. And Kamala Harris before was against fracking, but now she says, no, I support fracking. So you see those adjustments. But overall, yes, I think social media will definitely play a very, very powerful role in coming days because I think it's like the mainstream media's power is being challenged by powerful social media players as well. So yes, it will
Definitely,
play
definitely.
some role. Yeah.
Definitely, Mr. Jehangir, I'd like to include Dr. Awais in the conversation as well and ask him, as we know that the American politics, they revolve around how the domestic policies are going to affect the American people. But I'd also like to add to that, when we talk about so much going on in the world, there's the Russia-Ukraine conflict, there's the Israel and the Palestinian issue, Israel's war on the Palestinian territories. With regards to that, we also saw a lot of protests coming out in the American universities, a lot of protests and demonstrations coming out in different states of America. With regards to that, how do you think it's going to affect both the candidates and their policies, which are going to be in relations to these conflicts that are taking place in the world?
Well, thank you for having me. To start with, all politics is always local, as the legend goes, but whatever foreign policies a country's government has, they do have an effect on their internal dynamics as well. For instance, the war in Afghanistan and Iraq that went on for 2 decades, that had an effect on American economy, and that's what Donald Trump always takes credit for, that I brought the troops home. I made that agreement that eventually led to the drawdown. Whereas currently in the last 4 years, what we have seen, you mentioned Ukraine conflict, you mentioned Gaza conflict, that has had an effect on the US economy, and the average American voter is feeling the pinch of that, and the sentiment is increasing that we need to put our own house in order before we can think about what is happening elsewhere in the world, to fix the so-called democracy in other countries, and so on and so forth. And but the problem is that both parties don't have very different positions, at least on Gaza. Even Donald Trump has mentioned Ukraine and that he can fix the conflict and he can put an end to that war on his first day in office. But They want Israel to go all out and finish the job. And that was the message from the RNC podium as well when their convention happened. Whereas when we see Kamala Harris, although she has an incumbency factor and she has been part of this administration, but ever since she got the nomination, she has been trying to distance herself from those policies. Whether she follows up on that if she is elected president, that has to be seen. But for the moment, she is trying to give the right messages. She is talking about uh, uh, a prisoner swap. She is talking about a ceasefire, and that has made the left-leaning liberals as well as the youngsters and females rally around her because, like you mentioned, the protests in US institutions, those are the people that she is trying to woo, the younger crowd, the left leaning crowd. And that's the clarity we are seeing in the Democratic registered voters as well as those who are leaning Democrats because ever since she received this nomination, we have seen her make this into a competition that earlier with Joe Biden in the fray was not, and now she is not only uh, um, um, leading in polls. She is, and Donald Trump is trailing by 1 or 2 points in all the polls that have recently come out. And even after last night's debate, it seems that she was able to play on the ego of Donald Trump and she was able to rile him up. And her performance, as far as the optics were concerned, uh, was noticeable. So we'll see how much of that reflects in the polls that come out. But to sum it up in response to your question, politics is local, economy is the biggest factor in these elections, but foreign policy is closely tied to that.
Pitafi, I'd like your comment as well. Since we're talking about, on the one hand, there's the domestic policies, and on the other hand, there's the policies and the policies that are polarizing the American community at this moment, because we've seen that America had its own version of the Arab Spring. How do you think both the contenders for the top slot are going to have a challenge in cooling down those tensions?
Right. Who are you addressing this question to?
Farrukh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I didn't hear my name, so that's why it took me a little while to wake up my vocal cord. But regarding the debate, let me first of all point out certain things which stood out yesterday in the debate because I was watching as it was happening. I think that ABC, regardless of, I respect what Khattak Saab said, but I thought that unlike CNN, the ABC team actually did their job well, and they kept on fact-checking both sides. I think that on border issue, they gave some tough time to Vice President Kamala Harris also. But apart from that, I thought that in most of the program, Donald Trump appeared to be a little bit distracted. I don't know what exactly was going on, but it seemed that the kind of bodaciousness that he had actually shown during the previous debate against President Biden, it wasn't there. But then we saw that Kamala Harris also stood her ground, particularly when it came to the southern border and this allegation that she was border czar and she failed or dropped the ball. I think she defended the whole argument well. This was one of those moments which was at striking contrast to the previous debates when similar kind of argument was made before President Biden. Although I think that even if he didn't do well in debate, he could win the elections because the country is really divided, split right in the middle. And the debate, regarding the southern border, I thought that Kamala Harris actually pointed out that it was Donald Trump who shot down that law which could have taken care of this matter. And of course, that gave, ABC team a lot of ammunition to further zero in on Trump. But similarly, we saw that back and forth continued. This was despite everything else, civil discussion. We did not see the similar kind of succor or the similar kind of language that was there during the previous debate. So in this debate, I think that Kamala Harris did a great job of actually introducing herself to Americans who might not know her personally or her thoughts. And I think that she communicated very well. And then remember that nobody was allowed to bring in notes. So her facts were also very effective, and I thought that she did a great job. It is not to say that you take away any value away from Donald Trump. Donald Trump, of course, speaks to a huge number of Americans, and I think that he has the kind of pull that nobody else has shown in the recent past. But I thought that in this debate, Kamala Harris actually did a great job of presenting herself and standing her ground. Now, let us also talk about the numbers. At this moment, because every poll that we see, America is split right in the half. But what has happened is that if you look at the RCP's averages, particularly in the swing states, what we are witnessing is that gradually, pendulum is moving towards Kamala Harris. And why would that be? First, of course, she's younger, more articulate, and always in the moment present there. But that is not all. You have to look at who actually dropped out. Bobby Kennedy actually decided that he's not finally going to run, so he has taken his name out of the swing states. Because of that, all those voters that did not want to take a side, they have started shifting to one of the main candidates. And the fact is that most of them actually went for Bobby Kennedy because on both sides you had senior citizens running for office. Now, because on one side you have a younger candidate, I think that there's a steady trickle in that direction also. So the debates will continue. We still have to wait and see the deep debate. We still have to wait for two other debates if they are going to take place. But then, in the end, as was pointed out, that it is essentially an election that is going to be, fought on very basic issues. Inflation is one, but inflation is going down. Southern border was something that was serious, but then we saw that finally administration has started taking direct action also. And similarly, there are 18 other issues on abortion, on, Project 2025, and then Bobby Kennedy joining Donald Trump as potential health secretary. These three things are going to favor Kamala Harris hugely. And I think that in coming days, you will see more people will join Kamala Harris, and there's going to be slight uptick in her approval ratings as well.
That's some important points that you raised for Pitafi. I'd also like comments from Raja Faisal, but before that, I'd like a quick comment from Mr. Jehangir Khattak. When we talk about how there's Donald Trump, a man of a fair age on one side, and there's Kamala Harris, a slightly younger contender on the other side, and we've also seen in the past as well that social media trends have played a crucial role in American elections which have been held earlier. Do you think these elections are also going to be influenced by those social media trends?
I think yes. And also, in terms of these debates, who won, who lost, and will it really impact the election outcome? I'm not sure. Because I think if you go back into history, the last time Donald Trump debated a woman was Hillary Clinton. And by all those numbers at that time, Hillary had won the election, had won that debate, the last debate, and but Hillary was defeated in the elections. So what I'm saying is these trends do show you a direction in which the election is going. For example, when we talk about the issues, so everybody talks about economy, economy, economy. Why? Because everybody is hurting. America saw the 40 like the inflation rate was highest in 40 years during President Biden's 3.5 years, even though the inflation rate has come down now and it is stabilizing, which is a good thing. But it happened during his watch. So I think all these are trends. And why people are more focused on it? Because it is impacting their lives. Why I live in New York City, and about half a mile away from my house, there's a government facility, and that is full of migrants, people who are here. And we have seen people protesting against them that, hey, why did you bring them here? Why not somewhere else? Because, our playgrounds are full, and, our infrastructure is being impacted by that. So these kinds of things are real life impacts that the voters feel. And then those voters take to the social media. If because the mainstream media, where they have more editorial control, so they can show what they want people to see. But the social media gives the every user, the independence, the editorial independence, to show what he or she feels about or what he or she is seeing. Or they can share those videos or visuals or whatever you may call it, that will impact the public opinion. So in this digital age, I feel that social media has a bigger influence on people's lives than the mainstream media. If you just do the poll, you will see that which of the mediums have the highest number of viewership. It's not CNN, it's not ABC, it's YouTube. YouTube is owned by whom? YouTube is owned by everyone. And that's why you will see CNN, you will see ABC. And again, why they are relying more on social media? Because they are using these mediums to promote their own journalistic work, to stay afloat. So yes, I feel that it will have a big impact on the elections, because the way social media operates, the way social media creates awareness, or it like sends across tons of disinformation and misinformation and could mislead people. It works both ways. So I think, yes, I do hope that uh, given the fact that the number of Americans who rely more on social media than mainstream media, I think that they will be influenced by the social media role in this election cycle, because all the candidates, including the vice president, are directly contacting the voters through the social media, because that's the fastest way. I mean, if you go through a newspaper,
I have a
you may
question
have to
for
wait,
you.
but here you
My
don't. It's
concern or my question is regarding social media's ownership. You said that who owns YouTube? With due respect, there is an algorithm at play here. And similarly, in Twitter also, there is an algorithm, and there are individuals who own those companies which actually control that algorithm. For example, Elon Musk actually owns Twitter now, or X for that matter, and YouTube has a CEO, or Google has a CEO called Sundar Pichai. So don't you think that while we are saying that these things are decided only by the people, there's always somebody who's controlling the narrative, no matter how effectively that might be?
I mean, I don't want to deny the role of the social media in influencing the way we think, the way we choose, the way we even go by our life. For example, when I'm trying to pick up the bus, I may go to social media to see if there are train delays. So, yes, it does play that role. And in terms of ownership, I completely agree that, like, Elon Musk owns Twitter. And then Meta is, don't forget Meta, which is a huge player. And who are they supporting? So I think, yes, that is a bigger question. That's a more, I think, complicated question. And at the end of the day, if I were to say it in a one-liner, that yes, social media can really play a role. That's why I said it will play a role. But social media can also play up different candidates through the algorithms and through different technologies that they have access to, or they may be employing, and we don't know. Like Google, like you just watch a car, and next day you see that car ad appears on your cell phone. So yes, they are, pretty spooky, and they are looking at your insights, and they will have some role. But at the end of the day, everybody makes their decisions given their own realities. If you ask
Right.
a Palestinian American, they will not look at the social media to decide whether they should vote for Kamala Harris or Trump. They will look at their own reality that they lost entire families, entire neighborhoods are gone. And that's why during the primaries, the Democratic primaries, we saw that in the state of Michigan, there were highest number of uncommitted voters who said that we don't commit that we will vote for a Democratic candidate. Why? Because they were not happy. So I think all these factors are they are varying influences, but we cannot deny that the social media will not have an influence. It will have influence, and those who own the social media will also try to manipulate it in ways that we don't know.
Right. Thank you for the insights and your opinion. Of course, it is very well appreciated and acknowledged, Mr. Jehangir Khattak, Senior Analyst. I'd also like to include the comments from Raja Faisal, as we're running short on time as well. But he's been waiting very patiently. So, social media, data and algorithms. Raja Faisal, how do you think they playing up in these elections?
Yeah, to me, Rafae, obviously, Farrukh is quite right about it, that of course the algorithms, they do get changed. And of course, when we talk about the ownership of YouTube, be it X or be it Facebook, all of them, they have a mechanism in play. And where does that mechanism get switched to? That's what matters. And of course, when we talk about that mechanism actually shows you the videos that are, if you have intended to see a video, watch a video, then you just type in and it comes in front of you. But normally what happens is AI, artificial intelligence, is being utilized, and the mechanism, algorithms which are being utilized here, what they make sure is that whether you have intended to watch a video or not, still you will get recommendations right on your screen, so that you can click and you can start watching, so that you can change your narratives about it. But when it comes to this very debate, I think when earlier it was mentioned by Jehangir Khattak Saab, and I would agree with him that the final words which actually came out from Trump's side, they were very heavy words, and I think that them lines, they have made people to really think about what Kamala Harris politics is, and how is she going to carry on further down. And to me, I think the one thing is for sure, that we know that the Republicans, they have always considered Kamala Harris to be the candidate from the establishment side. If she is being considered, then in this context, they have always considered Biden to be the so mature type of a candidate of the establishment. This time around, of course, they have a lesser mature and someone who's having lesser sort of political experience, I must say, in that context. And to me, I think they are trying their level best to, of course, control the damage they have done to their politics, the Democrats. But we still need to wait and see what the results would be in coming days. But for now, Republicans, they believe that both of, be it Harris or be it Biden, both of them, they are, of course, establishment candidates.
Well, time will tell who's going to sway the American voters. With regard to that, I'd like to move towards our second topic, and how the finance minister stressed upon the need for reforms in the energy and power sector, and the privatization of the government-owned discos and the Gencos, and the reforms in K Electric, and of course the measures to facilitate the private sector so they can contribute to revitalization of the national economy. Raja Faisal, the question comes to you. With regards to that, the reforms being undertaken, how the finance minister has been constantly stressing on the reforms in the power sector, how crucial do you think these reforms are at these times when the government wants to put in and is determined to put in reforms and contribute their efforts for industrial revival and to facilitate the private sector more?
Yeah, Rafae, obviously when we talk about energy shortages, and we know that our domestic production that has been hit just because of this reason, that of course when it comes to the energy prices, we saw a hike in it. But as we are short in time, I would recommend that if we can go towards Farrukh bhai, because
like his comments as well.
he's sitting in Karachi, number one, and of course he is someone who's a guru in these kind of things. So please, if you can go towards him.
Right, for Pitafi, I'd like your comments, the same question as Raja Faisal, and I both want your insights as well on how crucial do you think these reforms in the power sector are at the moment when there's so much efforts being put in for industrial revitalization.
Right. Thank you very much, Raja Faisal, for being gracious. I think that you have actually covered most of the bases, and whatever was left, we actually discussed yesterday as well in a similar kind of segment. But I want to just point out that there are three problems with our current energy crisis or situation. One is, a very expensive energy mix. We keep on importing, and we keep on actually building these powerhouses which are charging very expensive, electricity. And I think that needs to change. Of course, there's going to be negotiations with the IPP. Let's see that, goes to the positive side. Then you can also actually go for solar energy and other similar kind of things. Then solution will be there. Of course, there's the issue of corruption and bureaucracy also, because all these, government power agencies, they are basically, they have a staff, and then we see a lot of
Right, definitely for Pitafi, of course, these are the different reforms that the government needs to undertake, and that's all we have for the debate from the debate for today. I'd like to thank both of our analysts, senior analyst Farrukh Pitafi and geopolitical analyst Raja Faisal. Thank you both for being part of the conversation. See you same time tomorrow. Till then, take care.